Hey guys, my name is Haley and today I'm going to be filming a sort of TBR. I might actually end up doing a Halloween like spooky season TBR, but that is not what this is. I am essentially going to be showing you all of the books that I brought with me from Ohio down here to Georgia. So I just have stacks of books that we packed in Kate's car and came down here in. So here's what I brought. There's also a handful like mini book haul situation here because I have bought a couple of books since being here, so I will put those in this pile as well. This is basically like my fall TBR. That's my plan. Will I read all of these? I don't know. It depends on if I get back into like reading a lot, because in the last couple of weeks we've been in a full-on K-pop mood and haven't been reading very much, so there's that. So I have already read one of the books that I brought with me, and that is Out of the Blue by Sophie Cameron. This will be in my wrap-up that I'm hoping to post in the next like week or so, of my wrap-up of the last 2 months of like August and September. But this is the first of the books that I brought physically with me that I have read cover to cover, and it was great. It's about angels falling from the sky. They just start falling from the sky one day and they splat on the ground and none of them ever survive. And this has been happening for a while, and the world is trying to catch a live one. And it was fascinating. You will hear me talk more about this in my wrap-up, but that is the first one. The one I am currently reading is Neath by Dana McSwain. This is a local author to Kent, Ohio, which is very close to my hometown. And I picked it up in one of the books shopping vlogs that we did with Haley Kate Time back in Ohio. And I am slowly making my way through this, and Hyungwon is my bookmark. And I forget every time I open my book, and I'm like, oh, hi, what are you doing here? But I'm slowly doing this because reading with my eyes has not been happening lately, but we're working our way through this. It is a ghost story. And then I think I'm going to go in order of a couple books I'm hoping to get to for spooky season over the next month or so, and then slowly make my way into the other books that I brought with me. That is my plan. So next up on my physical TBR is The Dark Beneath the Ice by Amalinda Berube. Ooh, I probably butchered that, but this is just a thriller that I heard of months ago and was like, I'm gonna read that during spooky season, and bought it and brought it with me. I basically brought books with me that I couldn't find on audio or ebook through any of my libraries, and my library is actually pretty good with Overdrive and stuff, so I didn't have to bring that many books with me, thankfully, from like all of the books that I bought when me and Kate went book shopping. But yes, I'm hoping to get to this one next, as soon as I finish Neath, actually. And then I want to read Midnight Blue. This is a bind-up of 3 novels, I believe. And it's about vampires. One thing I have learned in the last several weeks when it comes to reading is that I am very into vampires specifically right now. And I'm also very into angel books. And I plan on making like book recommendation videos for both of them once I have read enough of them. And this is next on my vampire list. We are also in the middle of Empire of the Vampire, but I'm waiting for a hold to come back in because we lost it, because we're not good at listening to audiobooks right now, especially 27 hours of one. So this is the next vampire book I want to get to, especially physically. And it has Sunglasses After Dark, In the Blood, and Paint It Black. And they're all like this long each, and they are all in a bind up. And I started this I want to say like almost 2 months ago, and read 46 pages in one day and loved it. And then I just didn't read physically for like 2 months because my life exploded. So I do want to get back into this hopefully very soon. But I'm intimidated by large books right now. We are in a stack of books that I picked up while I was here. I've picked up a couple other like vampire and angel books once I realized that's the mood that I was in. Also with buying books here, I have also going by the idea of if my library doesn't have it on Overdrive as an audio or an ebook, I will buy it for cheap, because there are some really nice bookstores down here. Like, we literally walked into Second and Charles and I sat down on the ground and was just like going through their vampire section and their paranormal section, and a worker came up to me and asked me if I was okay and if I needed help finding anything, and I was like, no, I just want to sit on the floor and read the synopsises of these books. So that was a thing that happened. But as for books I want to get to this spooky season that I have bought since being here, I have Insatiable by Jeff Mann. This has really high ratings on Goodreads, but not a ton of ratings, and it literally just sounds like a vampire book. And it's super short, and I'm trying to up my numbers of vampire books that I've read that are not Twilight, so this sounded fun. This is a thriller that I picked up that was huge. I actually picked this up at Goodwill, I believe. And this is an ARC, so like bad on Goodwill for selling ARCs because you're not supposed to do that. But also this was like $1. So I picked it up. It's also like huge font for how big it is, probably because it's an ARC. And it's like an old ARC. Like this book came out in 1989. And it's an ARC from 1989, probably 1988. So I'm excited to read this. It's just a basic thriller, but it sounded very fascinating, and it was only $1 at Goodwill. So we will add this to my never-ending fall like spooky season TBR. And then I picked up the first book in a series called A Madness of Angels. And it sounds a lot like the Dresden Files, but our main character is an angel. So I jumped on that train immediately. And this is more ambitious. I don't know if I will get to all 3 of these, but I did bring them with me physically. And I also have a million audiobooks that I want to read this spooky season, so we'll see if these happen. But I brought my remaining Mark Z. Danielski books. I also want to reread House of Leaves. I don't know if that's going to happen either with the way my reading's going, but I brought The 50-Year Sword and Only Revolutions, which are very oddly shaped books, but I brought these with me to hopefully read in the next several months. And then I brought the first book in his series, The Familiar. This book is huge, it's so heavy, and it looks so fun. It looks a lot like House of Leaves, and I'm hoping that I love this because there are several books in this series. And then I brought one of our buddy reads that we're supposed to do that we're hoping to actually hopefully be able to do by the end of the year. We'll see. And that is The Idiot. I brought my own copy because I know Kate's copy is super tabbed up and like written in and stuff, and I cannot read that as a first try of reading a book, so I brought this with me. And then I brought 2 of my graphic novels because I hate reading graphic novels on my phone or on my Kindle. So I brought Grass, which is a Korean graphic novel. Graphic memoir, actually, I think. And then I brought my Kent State, For Dead in Ohio graphic memoir because I haven't read this yet and I wanted to. And then into my random stack of things that my library didn't have, so I brought them with me. I have The Future Will Be BS Free. This is my remaining Will McIntosh book. I think I've mentioned this before, I might make a Where to Start with Will McIntosh, a lot like how I did my Where to Start with John Mars, which wasn't doing great as a video for a while, and then the one TV show happened and everybody found that video and I was like, oh. So I might make a Will McIntosh one because he is one of my favorite like standalone sci-fi authors, and this is, I believe, the last book of his that I need to read. I'm so sorry if the angle is off. I got interrupted. But where was I? I'm just going to continue because I think I did the last one. So the next book I brought with me was Metro 2033. This is the first book in a trilogy. The reason, I think I mentioned this when I bought it, the reason I picked this up is because I watched John Wolfe, who is one of my favorite YouTubers, play this video game, and I thought the world was really interesting, so I figured I would read the book series that those are based on. Then I have The Shelf. This is the other book by the author Helly Acton, and I read her book The Couple and loved it, so I picked this up to see if I wanted to read her other books. The reason I looked over there is because I brought The Couple with me because Kate also wants to read it. So I did bring a couple of those books. I brought Kill the Boy Band, The Couple, and The Warehouse because those are books that I put on Kate's pile to read before the end of the year. But obviously I have read all of them before. And then I brought Rob Hart's other book, which he wrote The Warehouse, which was one of my favorite books of last year. And this is his trilogy, the first book being New York. I brought this with me. It's very short and I'm hoping to get to it soon. I brought my one nonfiction with me, and that is Sex Crimes by Alice Vox. It's 10 years on the front lines prosecuting rapists and confronting their collaborators. I picked this up in a little free library at home and I want to get to it because my library did not have it. We have Vanilla, which is a book I've been hearing about for years because Kate read it a million years ago and loved it. So I brought my copy with me because she doesn't own it anymore, I don't think. And then I brought Immaculate, which is a thriller about an immaculate conception. That's a lot like Mary from the Bible, so we have that. And then I have 3 more books that I've bought since I was here that didn't fall into any of those categories. So at Goodwill, I picked up Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I've been wanting to read her other book, Tipping the Velvet, which is the one that sounds the most interesting to me, but I also just kind of want to read one of her books because I want to know if she's an author that I might like. And obviously Fingersmith, I believe, is her most famous book, so I picked this up for cheap. And I picked up 2 books I've never heard of. The first of those being Zero World by Jason M. Hugh. And this is a sci-fi novel about a man on an alien planet. And it's huge. And also had like weirdly good ratings on Goodreads when I was looking in Second and Charles. So I was like, sure, it's cheap. And then last, I have another bind up. I don't know why I keep buying bind ups, but I picked this up on the shelf because the cover was stunning. The spine is stunning. And I was like, what is that? And looked it up on Goodreads, and it has weirdly, really, really high ratings and good reviews. And I was like, what is this series? Why have I never heard of it? And it's 4 books. It's Divided Ruins, Sacred, and Bloodstained. And it says it's the complete series. And it's large. It almost looks like a textbook because it's the size of it. And I think it's about gangs, which I'm not super into gang books usually, but I was fascinated by the amount of high reviews that this had. And this cover is stunning. The spine also stunning. So since it was so cheap and literally like 4 books in one, I was like, I'll give it a try. But yes, those are all the books. I'm not going to try and hold them up. Those are all the books I brought with me. I did not bring books that I knew were on my physical TBR, but Kate also owned because we don't need 2 copies of them in this household. And obviously this doesn't include any of my ebooks and audiobooks that I have on my overdrive that I can also listen to down here. So let me know if you want to see a spooky TBR in the comments down below. I might make that video. I haven't decided yet because I'm not sure how much we're going to be reading in the next couple weeks, even though we're really going to try. But yeah, I think my next video is probably going to be my wrap up of like 2+ months of books, which I did read a decent amount in August. And then like a normal-ish amount in September. September. And that's just going to be a long video because I read a lot of books, but I hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know if you want your spooky TBR in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.